What really caught my attention with unconventional oil and gas was the just sheer pace of the expansion of the industry, where it just really took off quite rapidly over the past decade without a really good understanding of the potential environmental exposures or health outcomes. And I came to Ohio specifically because this is one of the most prolific shale gas producing areas.
When I was 15, my father moved, maybe 14, on the opposite side of Slope Creek Reservoir. We didn't have any neighbors, and just totally private. So he had that home for probably 15 or 20 years, and then after traveling the world and going to many different beautiful places, I decided I wanted to build my home here on the opposite shore of the reservoir. I planned on having this place forever, and it's just not safe now to do so. You think you're being poisoned, you've read scientific data that would confirm that you're being poisoned. You talk to other people who had similar health impacts that live near compressor stations, but when you see the images and see the pollution in these flare camera images, then you're being poisoned.
We are required to do quarterly optical gas imaging for leak detection and repair at our facilities. So not only do we do that, and we have a third party come in and do it, but we own our own OGI cameras, so that we're doing routine scans as well.
The cameras that we're using, the same brand and model, is pretty industry standard. We know that the US EPA uses the same type of camera, the Ohio EPA.
So much misconception about what's out there with the FLIR videos, the OGI, and people look at an image and it looks like one thing, but it's actually something else altogether. What you're seeing is actually the heat coming off of the dehydration still immediately behind it. What I'm telling you is it's heat.
Okay.
It's heat.
Okay.
I know the limitations of a FLIR camera, of an optical gas imaging camera. And I can tell you what you'll see coming off of those exhausts is heat.
Kind of the basics of the way we know that it's not just heat or smoke comes down to this little crosshairs you see in the center, which we call the temp spot. And that is constantly, when we're filming, constantly reading the temperature, which gets recorded, it gets displayed and recorded up here. And so what Pete is looking for as a thermographer, because he's trained and certified to use this specialized equipment, is he's looking for the point at which this visible plume that we're able to see with the camera, where the temperature of that is roughly equal to the temperature of the ambient air. There can be methane in there, which is a concern as a climate pollutant because it's 86 times more powerful than carbon dioxide when you're looking at it over a 20-year time period. And then they also, this water tends to contain levels of volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that can be a concern for health, and things like benzene, which is a known carcinogen. That's an example of a VOC that's associated with oil and gas development.
When people say you can do fracking safely, I'm like, how can you say that when it's destroying our freshwater supplies? That's just one of the issues, let alone the toxic air pollution, the health impacts, but even just the fact that they're ruining our freshwater supplies in massive quantities is enough for me to say no way. The sinus and headaches and the pressure, and also it's like this weight in your chest, like it's hard to breathe. That happens during the flaring. I just know that every time I stay there for hours at a time, I don't feel well.
So you can't even live in your own house?
No, I haven't been able to live in my own house, and I don't want to sell it because I have to have a place to do ceremony. I mean, that's my lifeline. And I can't afford any place else.
I have been here to collect the data. I have seen the results. I've seen third-party studies. There's absolutely no legitimate concern for human health or safety.
To date, we have about 15 to 20 health studies showing that people who live closer to unconventional oil and gas sites are more likely to experience a variety of health problems, such as asthma exacerbation, premature births, and childhood cancers. So we certainly don't have enough evidence to show that these operations are safe.
I think it's been studied ad nauseum. And I think if we had a problem with water, we'd know about it. We've been doing this since 2011. If you go back to conventional development, 1880. If we had a problem, we know about it. We don't.
The paradigm in our country is generally that chemicals or processes are innocent until proven guilty, rather than showing that they're safe at the outset. I've been doing research in Ohio for about 3 years. We found that people who lived closer to unconventional oil and gas wells were more likely to have certain chemicals in their drinking water, and certain chemicals were present at higher levels compared to people who lived farther away. However, all the chemicals we tested were below the EPA standards.
My continued statement to the Ohio EPA is the regulations aren't adequate. People are getting sick living near these facilities. Your regulations are not adequate to protect public health. I don't care if they're within your standards of your limits set. They're not adequate to protect public health.
There's another question about whether the current safe levels are appropriate for the time and the available research. And many of these standards have not been updated in quite some time, and would benefit from re-examining the evidence. I mean, one example is lead. Lead is a very well-known contaminant in drinking water, and the standard for that has been slowly coming down lower and lower until now it's very well established that there is no safe level of lead. Many of these chemicals on the list are known or suspected carcinogens, and our government considers any level of a carcinogen to pose a risk.
I basically feel like the purpose for me of moving back here, which I could have gone any place in the world really, I see now was to help educate people and warn them of the risks associated with fracking, because we experienced it firsthand here in the valley. I don't know what else to do except educate them and try to empower them to stand up for their rights to a healthy environment, you know, a healthy place to raise your kids, clean water, clean air. And that's been stolen from us greatly here in southeastern Ohio.